Minister Weekly Update number 38. And first of all, we're going to start off with an apology for not publishing an update last week. It was impossible. At the end of this, in the Spain section, I'm going to tell you why we couldn't publish the update. But let's crack on now. We're going to have a bit of a shorter update this week. I'm not going to have the general pop-ups on the screen that I normally have. But by the time we get to next week, update number 39, number 40, we should be rolling along at full force again. So that's fantastic. You'll also see that I am on, well, I'm going to tell you that in the next section. So what's been happening out and about in residencies? Well, there's been an awful lot of talk so far this week, last couple of weeks, about this, the new law which they're looking to pass in Spain regarding getting residency here, the new immigration law. Now, this has actually been around for a while. The actual draft proposal has been around for 2 months. But the two biggest things which are being talked about in this draft proposal is the fact that there is written in there that they would like to put the renewal for a 4-year period, rather than 2 years, which could affect people working with savings. And also, it looks like they're going to reintroduce, this is talking about non-lucrative visa here, they're going to reintroduce the 183 days for the minimum amount of time you can spend in Spain without getting your temporary residency denied on renewal. And remember that they abolished the 183 day well, they didn't abolish it, they annulled it because of a case which went through in Girona. It looks like it's going to get put back in. For those of you going for permanent residency at the end of the 5 years, that wouldn't matter anyway. All I can say is I did have a little bit of content planned, but I haven't been able to do that yet. But we will get that out. But it is only a draft at the moment. There's nothing certain. This still has to go through the Consejo de Gobierno, where that gets legally checked to make sure that everything that actually is in the text is legal. It then goes to the Consejo de Ministros, which means that the ministers have to approve it. It then has to go to Parliament to be approved. It then has to be written into law. So there's still a while off, albeit that the Minister for Immigration was wanting to push it through, well, who manages part of the immigration process, wanted to push it through quickly. We'd rather that they took their time and actually got it correct. And as we know of any draft law, everything can change. But we will keep you up to speed with that. So, okay then, what we're going to tell you about what's been going on with Upsticks. Now, you have to excuse me, I've got to look at my screen over here. I've got my screen slightly differently, just to accommodate me working with one arm, believe it or not, at the moment. And we have had, first of all, our appointments. So we had to make some changes to our appointments quite urgently, starting from the 7th, and I haven't done a video since then. I think I published one on the 8th, and then from there it got a bit crazy. So we've had appointments in Vélez Málaga, which Lara actually from Upsticks Drive has been covering appointments as well, in my absence from doing appointments. We've also had appointments over in Torremolinos. We've had people collecting their TIE cards over in Marbella, which has been good. Another appointment on the Friday again, which was covered by Lara, over in Vélez Málaga. And then last week we had a huge day on the 17th. So we've got an EU residency there in Figueroa. I think Figueroa are quite funny. I think they're quite picky, but what generally will give you some information about the Malaga EU residencies is they like to see a translation of the source of the income if you've got pension income coming in. So it's about pension income now, mainly for retirees. If it's a state pension, a private pension or whatever, if you've got it going into an account, if it's not a Spanish account, it's a UK account or something, you're going to have to take a translation of a statement. But you can only just get away with a couple of months showing it going in. But they like to see the source, the translation, either at P60 or the letter from the government if it's a state pension, proving what you get on a weekly basis. And then you can back that up with proof that it's going in, because obviously a P60 is only something you get on it shows the annual income from the previous year, and then you could back that up with a couple of recent statements showing that the money is still going into the account. So yeah, they like to see the full extent of what you're going to get paid for your pension, whether it be private or public. Then we've got here, what else did we have? We had a couple of collects in Malaga and two renewal Tom of the Wayers, again, all flew through. And then on the 17th, we had a huge day. We had 4 appointments going through in Estepona. We had 2 going through in Antequera, and we had 2 more going through in Figueroa. Then these are all covered by Tom, Lara, and Chris. And Chris has just come on board now as our new translator. So for those of you who should be covering some of the Malaga and Almeria area, so that's great news that we've got someone else now on board helping us with the appointments as well as we get busier towards the end of the year. So that's fantastic. And then we had an ITV appointment last week on the Friday, which unfortunately failed due to the headlights. Now, when we start the car process, we always advise the clients what we believe they should do with their headlights if they need to do anything. Generally, as you know, halogen headlights have to be taken out and removed and replaced because the reflection is a fixed reflection beam from the back unit of the headlight, whereas LEDs and sometimes the xenon ones can be adjusted. But we always go through that. Our client had taken his vehicle to the manufacturers. They said they'd done it and they hadn't. So there we go. So that was last week. And what date are we on now? So that was last week. Sorry, that was up till last weekend. And then this week's been another busy week for us. I had to cancel quite a few calls the week before last, so I've been doing all those this week. And we've also had over there in Elche in Alicante, it's the only place we could have got appointments, and we had 5 appointments over there with Victoria doing a stunning job. And then because we had such an avalanche of visas coming in right at the end of September, Jane's been cracking on. I think Dale's got, looking at the calendar here, she had one day with 6 stage 2 calls. It's where Jane at stage 2, once you've got your visa, you generally do a minute at the front end, then Jane and the stage 2 team who do the actual appointments on the ground and the management of the file in the office get in contact with you. I can see there on Wednesday she had a busy day, 6 calls calling people who got their visas, then getting yourselves organised. Then we had Almeria, 2 appointments in Almeria that went off, and that was Chris who went and drove out there to do that. And then yesterday we had 2 pickups in Granada. They were for my good friends there, Ken and Christine, who I've known for 2024, good part of 18 years. So it was nice to be able to help them with their TIE cards. So yeah, that's it. There's another one I just wanted to mention was, and these guys actually completely slipped the last week's weekly update, and then the week before last, and I didn't do one last week. So the Thompson family, who got their visas back from earlier this month from London in 14 days. Can you believe it? The problem we've got is with Manchester. What's going on with Manchester? Again, taking for absolute ages to issue the visas. And also in Edinburgh, at the moment, we've got a couple which are already sat on 6 weeks. So we'll keep you up to date on that next week and let you know what's been released. We also got a couple of renewals drop in for Alicante. And that was a month after expiry, submitted on expiry. So yeah, that's not bad. Good turnaround, a month there from Alicante for some renewals, which we're happy with. And the appointments in Alicante seem to be doing very well. We had a period there where they were hard to get, but at the moment you seem to be able to get them, but at very short notice. Okay, that's what's been happening with residency here in Spain and in the UK. What's been going on Upsticks YouTube channel. So for our Upsticks YouTube channel, well, don't forget that on this Saturday coming, which is the, what date's that? Saturday coming. I saw the biggest bee has just flown in. We're going to carry on. Which is Saturday the 2nd of November. I have a show coming out on the we have a show, me and Scats, on the YouTooSpain. His regular weekly updates. We pre-recorded that yesterday because he's going to be away and I'm not going to be available. So we pre-recorded a great show. Don't forget, check it out. We have a bit of a laugh about his medical condition and a bit of laugh about my current medical condition. We also talk to you about Malaga and the current press and what's happening there in Malaga and why we believe that it's not correct So that is what's going on this Saturday. And as for our comments on YouTube, as I say, I'm not going to be putting the pop-ups on at the moment. We'll be doing that hopefully from next week onwards. But starting off with from a day ago, Paul Pilot 42. Hope the recovery is going well, Chris. Cheers, Paul. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Then RJW2125. This is on our Malaga. This is on our 790 renewal. Why does immigration ask for the tax paid twice? And this is a good question. I'm going to answer this on here. Hi, great video. Saw it just at the right time. I've just renewed my NRV online, 17th of the 10th, 2024, in the Alicante region, and upon checking the status, was wondering why there was a note saying that I hadn't paid the taxes. As you said, this is something that you have to do during the renewal process. It is. Along with all the necessary docs, I also attached downloaded proof from the SEDI website, as well as the Justificante de Operación, the NRC number from my bank account showing the taxes had been paid. In fact, you can't go to the next stage on the Mercurial website when you submit an application if you don't do that. So I don't understand why they come back and ask for people unless it's been done mistakenly. Then I decided to access the SEDI Administración website to check my taxes. It showed the taxes I had paid, but they were shown as pending processing. It explains what you need to do to process the payment. Once you do this, on the top right of the page is to print the document tab and save the document as a PDF. Once you do this, access your NRV file and attach the saved document. So anyone else in the same issue, try this as well. Upsticks, can you do a video explaining this further, please? Well, to be honest with you, well done for doing that. We're not going to do a video about it because we do this for our clients anyway, so we'll be doing ourselves out of a job really if we did that. But yeah, when you do submit your renewal, remember you have to pay your 790.052052 renewal taxes. Now what you can do, if you don't want to do them online and you haven't got a digital certificate, then you can actually take them to the bank and you'll get a stamp receipt. But don't forget, you're going to have to scan that stamp receipt out and submit it with your documents for the renewal. And what we do is we actually wait a day for the transaction to go through the bank, so we get the digital receipt at the same time. Okay, so if you haven't got a digital certificate and you can't do it online like RJW did, then you can physically pay the taxes if you print them off, but you will need to send the receipt with your application. So thanks for that comment, that's great. On the how to pay speeding fine, Barry Sager, very helpful, thank you. So that's getting a lot of views, that video. Roy Sayers 5966. Good morning, Chris. I had help from my friend Dion Blair. I contacted her to tell me it sounds like much more for me, Mr. Roy says. Yep, no worries, Roy. I see we've got a meeting booked in the office now, so that's great. Looking forward to seeing you. Ron Hogg, that was well done. That was fantastic intro to drop off and collection from drop off and picking up in Malaga Airport. That's again, the video is doing really well. So thanks for that, Ron. Who's this? Vidar Skog 5357. Thanks for the helpful video. The paper you bought with you before going in, mind me asking where that form is from, and do you happen to know if they speak any English at all? That is on our Benijofa Alicante how to get Padron certificate. Right, well, I got that documentation from inside the town hall. Then I just went in and said, what do you request that people fill out when they go for an appointment with you? So go in there, get the documents, fill them out, and take it back in. But thanks for the comment. And then we carry on now with stuff we've already commented on, and evidently we haven't got that many new comments because we haven't published anything in 10 days, unfortunately. Apart from yesterday, I published a video because the stormy skies were coming and we thought we were going to have loads of rain, and disappointingly we just didn't. What a nightmare, really, because we really need it. And Kev the Argador, loud shallow earthquake here yesterday. He's in Mazarron. I know. Put the wind at the dogs, and Jan has never ever experienced one. And yellow rain warning for the weekend. Spain has got it all going on at the moment. I hope the arm is on the mend. Patrick O'Connor, I like Rod Stewart because that's the tune that I used, but I prefer the CCR version. And then we got a comment from Tarragona from Jules Hepburn 3688. With just had rain in Tarragona and more coming hopefully to end the 2-year drought. You have really bad up there, Tarragona, Barcelona at the moment. I hope you get the rain you need. Well, thanks for that, Jules. Yep, so that's good. And then just on our last weekly update, number 37, I've got lots of comments on there saying hope that the arm gets well soon. And thank you everybody who commented on that video. Right now, let's tell you what's been going on in Spain. Well, what's been happening in Spain? I'm actually going to just give you an update on what's happening with my arm brake situation that I mentioned in the last video. Which I'm actually quite pleased I got out a couple of weeks ago, but I must have been on some very heavy painkillers then, because the whole week is now, looking back at it, a bit of a blur, I have to admit. So what happened was I fell over these rocks you can see here in this idyllic beach. It's the craziest thing, so you have to be so careful nowadays, guys, when you're just going for a walk. Even I was going to take a photo and fell over in this beautiful area here in Granada, and I landed on my arm and snapped the humeral bone, basically the humerus, as they call it, the funny bone. It wasn't very funny. So, as I mentioned, I got taken to emergencies, and last time on the last video, I had it strapped up all here in a big cast and up one side. The cast was to hold a weight to keep the bones separate because they needed to operate on the arm. So at that point I didn't have a date for the operation. After doing the video on the Wednesday, they called me and they said, right, you're going to have to come in on Monday and start the, excuse me, I'm getting attacked by flies here. And come in on the Monday and start the and have an operation on your arm. Didn't really explain what it was, to be honest. I didn't really know what was going on. And at that point, during that week, they give you some really heavy medication to get you through the week. That actually makes you feel quite ill as well. It takes away a lot of the pain, but not only does it give you a lot of brain fog, it makes you feel generally quite ill, so you don't really feel like eating a lot. Quite a lot of anxiety through the weekend going into the operation. It's the first time I've ever been put under. And I didn't like that. I don't like that thought, but then again, the way the arm out, I thought it's not going to do it any other way. But just to tell you my experience really about what went on. So first of all, it was all done in a day, and I was released from hospital the following day. So I went at 9 o'clock to see the anaesthetist in a different hospital, which is in the Valle Guadalhorce, and they went through all my test results from the emergency. They asked me a few questions. I'd also had x-rays, a chest scan, and a couple of other things in emergency to check whether I was okay for an operation. They said it'll all come back well. They asked me a lot of questions regarding if I was a smoker, if I was a drinker, if I was allergic to anything like that. And then I had to sign a bit of a waiver to say if anything happened to me, it wasn't their fault, because I'd declared everything that I thought I needed to declare. And the guy was pretty happy. He actually left me quite calm and relaxed, but it turns out, you're not going to believe this, you will not believe this, I actually have quite a small mouth. Would you believe that? A few chuckles in the room there, people who know me. I'm going to ignore that huge wasp which you probably saw fly by my head there. Did you see that? Let's just ignore that. I've got the windows open, you see, and we live in the camper. There's lots going on here insects wise. It's right behind me now. Leave it. So yeah, then it was off to the hospital for 12 o'clock. By that time, I wasn't allowed to eat from 12 o'clock the previous evening. So the reason that they had me do this thing that you have to get your lips go like that, try and bite your beard, he said. I said, I can't bite my beard, and that was all to do with the tube that they have to put down and the observations they need. Didn't know that. So then when I got to the hospital, we went to the inpatients, and they gave me this thing on my wrist, not only the identifying stuff and told me to take everything off, which was metal, but which I didn't have anything on anyway after the accident, but they gave me this automatic thing on my wrist, which comes with a QR code. And basically it's a digital waiting room, and it tells, you can send it to your family, it tells everybody who there you only allow one person in to look after you, or sorry, two people in to look after you, and they get given a badge. So these badges can be swapped at the door so people can come up and down, but you're only allowed two at any one time. But this digital bracelet basically meant you could download an app and using a code to see what stage I was at every time, when I was taken into hospital, when I was in waiting for the operation, I was in the operation, when I was in the recovery room, and subsequently on the ward again. So I thought that was very, very cool. So it's a nice thing to send the family so they could check up on what was going on. That was at 12 o'clock. I then got taken upstairs to the ward. I was then told I'd be operated on at 5 o'clock. They came round, gave me gowns, checked on me. They then lined up all the stuff for your arm, you know, to start putting the drips and whatever fluids they need to put in you. And then around 4:30, 5 o'clock, they came along and gave me a tablet, which was just to calm me down. I believe it was not that I was hysteric or anything, but they give it to everybody who's having an operation just to make sure that you're relaxed going into it. And it was very much like a I can't remember what they call it, like a Valium type thing, which sends you a bit woozy. Then they called me in. They kept the whole time. They kept the plaster on. At this point, they came and got me in a hospital bed. I then went in. Lara was outside. They then transferred me once I got to these huge sliding doors, which looked like a garage to me, into a wheelchair, and then they pushed me through to the operating theatre, which has to quite possibly be, for someone who doesn't particularly, I don't think anybody likes hospitals, but for someone who particularly finds hospitals scary places, the worst experience in my whole life, I have to say. It was then on to the operating bed, and there were so many people. It was incredible. It was very busy, which was a bit unnerving, but I have to say the social security healthcare system was amazing. It has been amazing and punctual throughout, albeit it's generally very you don't really know what's going on unless you ask, but they do get the job done. So anyway, they then lied me down. They started to strap all sorts of stuff to rest the arm on next to me, and at this point when they put the mask on, one of the surgeons came over and went, right, let's cut off the plaster. And then when they moved it, obviously it was very painful, and they said, you know what, wait until he passes out and then we'll do it. So they put the mask on me, and that's it. Can't remember anything else. Woke up in the recovery room and surrounded by a couple of other people. They gave me something to drink, a very sore throat, but I think that comes down to the tubes and stuff. I again got wheeled through to the ward and back on the ward, and there you go. You can see me there, not looking particularly happy. That was me smiling afterwards. But they'd completely taken the plaster off, and I only had a support on. And when I looked down, expecting to see this huge scar on the side of my arm where they'd fitted plates, because that's what they explained they might do, it turns out they did a completely different procedure, and I've hardly got any scars at all. They did, and I'm going to get this right hopefully, a humeral intermedullary nail. Okay, and basically what they do is they drill a hole in your shoulder, and they put a guide nail through the bone all the way down to your elbow. They then, once the guide is in, they then hammer in a intramedullary nail, I'm reading that off the back of the screen here, down to the elbow. And then there's a device which once they've hammered it in, that they tightens it up. So then it brings the bone back together, and then they tighten the screws at the bottom and basically at the top. Staple it all back up. They have to go through your muscle here at the top of the elbow, staple it all back up, and then you're done. So currently, it's amazing technology. There's a little scar here, 2 scars here where the screws are, and 2 scars at the bottom where the screws are now. And I'm actually due to have the staples out tomorrow, 2 weeks after the operation. You'd never want to Google that and watch the operation, because it just makes you feel like that. It really does. But it's just incredible technology. It really is. So, you know, At the moment, I've only regained movement back in my wrist. My fingers have always moved. I've never had a problem with my fingers at all. Luckily, they didn't get affected by any nerve damage. But during this whole process and with the break, unfortunately, I lost movement in my arm. So I've managed to gain this movement back this week. So I can now move my wrist. It's quite painful, but when I do it, I can move it, so that's great. And then I can also, if I'm switching from this support to one I use in the streaks, I bought one in the to go out with, which is slightly more tighter and holds it firmly in place. I can for a second hold my arm up, whereas before it just flopped. We had to hold it up. So I can, in the last 2 days, I've managed to get strength to hold it but not move it, if that makes any sense. So yeah, and on Tuesday I start with the they call it in Spanish rehabilitación, rehabilitation and physio, to then try and start getting movement back into it. Not too sure if I'll be driving before Christmas, we don't know, but they reckon anything from 4 to 8 weeks to try and ease the sling off, which is pretty incredible considering the extent of the break in your arm, to think that 6 weeks later you could quite possibly be walking around without a sling on. So that's it. That's what's been happening. Sorry, no more news about Spain, because even that's taken me 10 minutes to explain. I just wanted to let you know how I was doing, so a lot of people are asking. In terms of Upsticks, as I said, we're just cracking on. We've made some adjustments to our processes. Obviously, I only have one hand working at the moment, but I am still sending my emails and doing everything we can, or being supported by the team. If you do get an email from me which sounds overly nice, well, you can thank AI, because AI is helping me. I've got Gemini with the email helping me. I've got ChatGPT correcting stuff for me, and I'm also using an awful lot of new technology to dictate emails instead of writing them, otherwise I wouldn't get one done, because I was bad at writing emails anyway before in terms of speed, let alone I'm not the fastest typer in the world. But anyway, look, there we go. Now I talk to the computer and it writes it for me. It's amazing. I can just make the small corrections I need to. So, in fact, I don't think I'm ever going to go back to the old way of writing emails. I'm enjoying my new discoveries with technology. I really am. It is pretty amazing. And I can only just imagine if this had happened 4 or 5 years ago, when we didn't have this technology and AI to assist us with dictating emails. So anybody wants to know about that, it's incredible. I've been using a combination of Gemini for Google, ChatGPT. On WhatsApp, we have a AI called Fredobot, which is great for collecting voice notes and transcribing them and sending them to your email if you're doing anything slightly more complicated. And whatever AI have we been using as well. No, that's it, I think, just to get us through the structure of emails. And in fact, today I've actually been sat here improving some of my email templates with what I've learned so far. So out of there's always a positive from a negative, isn't there? Thanks for watching, guys. As again, sorry for not having last week. I will be back with you hopefully with the pop-ups and everything next week with update number 39, where we'll be telling you all about what goes on in Halloween in Spain, which is a relatively new fiesta that normally hasn't been celebrated in the past but really is now. Thanks for watching. If you like the channel, subscribe and hit the like bell with notifications and all of that.